SCP-515, also known as Dormer. Object Class: Keter. SCP-515 is presently a Caucasian male. No applicable birth certificate has yet to be found. His basal metabolic rate is compared to that of a blue whale or a mammal of greater size, but mass is slightly below average for humans of similar ages. Despite ignorance of all other bodial needs, and despite attempted interference on that part of the researchers, 515 has yet to be observed in a state of consciousness, apart from the stage N3 dreamless sleep. Whenever 515 moves in any capacity, an asteroid in space moves towards Earth. Regardless of the direction of 515's motion, a twitch of a finger or toe typically corresponds to a movement of about 140 kilometers. Compared movement of limbs indicate motion of asteroids on the scale of 460 kilometers or more. Sustained motion, such as sleepwalking, has been demonstrated to correlate with the object traveling towards Earth at velocities reaching 280,000 kilometers per hour. 515 is to be kept entirely to its sleeping quarters, to the point of near total immobility. If 515's enclosure is seen to be empty, top priority must be placed on immediate recapture. SCP-336, also known as Lilith. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-336 appears to be a pale-skinned human female of otherwise Arabic or Middle Eastern descent in its late 20s. 336 is 5 feet 8 inches in height and weighs 150 pounds. Subject requires no sleep or sustenance and does not appear to be affected by aging or sickness of any nature. The object is anatomically human, with the exception of dermal irregularities along the thighs and calves, which appear structurally similar to reptilian scales. 336 behaves impassively and detached with regards to human beings and demonstrates highly introverted behavior. This subject is highly intelligent and analytical, having scored in the 95th percentile or above in most intelligent tests. Human subjects directly exposed to the unobstructed vocalizations of 336 experienced a separate anomaly that presents itself after 2 to 3 hours of exposure to 336's voice. During an affected subject's next regular sleep cycle, he or she will instead enter a coma in duration in place of normal rest. 336 is to be provided living quarters in a 6 meter by 6 meter cell. A voice modulator device fitted over 336's mouth is to be checked and maintained by Level 0 personnel weekly. SCP-339, also known as Be Silent, Be Still. Object Class: Keter. 339 is a group of tentacle-like arms extending off a central mass. It is approximately 50 centimeters from tip to tip. It appears to be made out of weathered copper, but shows a much higher level of durability and independent mobility. The individual tentacles constantly move as though they are underwater, continually grinding on the side of any containment, silently pulverizing it at a gradual but constant rate. Because of this, the soundproofed box it is currently contained in must be replaced at regular intervals. Any noise above 14 decibels will cause 339 to become hostile. Any movement within visual range will result in the immediate reaction of 339. 339 will expand by extruding tentacles at extremely high rate, ensnaring any moving organism or objects designated as targets. Once the movement has been restricted, 339's tentacles begin to vibrate at rapidly increasing oscillations until the target is rendered incapable of movement. The room containing 339 is 5 meters by 5 meters and soundproofed. 339 is sealed in a soundproof container on a 1.5 meter pedestal in the center of the room. The room is only accessible through an outer soundproofed airlock. SCP-378, also known as Brainworm. Object Class: Keter. SCP-378 resembles a segmented invertebrate, not unlike centipedes or millipedes. It was first encountered in Mexico in the summer of 1995, when the town began to notice disappearing livestock. They recruited local hunters to find the culprits. Of the 4 hunters that began the search, only one returned over a week later. Eyewitnesses reported that the man's arms were mangled and his face and throat were nearly unrecognizable. The man stumbled around town for several days, ignoring all attempts to help or question him. When the townsfolk noticed the stench of decomposing flesh coming from the man, they called the Mexican government in fear of flesh-eating disease. Agents and containment teams were dispatched immediately. The teams arrived to take statement and incinerate the entire town and surrounding area, but instead, they found a single victim instead of an outbreak. Upon incineration, it was found that the man's skull contained 378. 378 is contained within a tungsten box, and his burrowing abilities is much less effective on such material. SCP-305, also known as the Whisperer. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-305 is a rock formation of approximately humanoid size and shape. Remote recordings of 305 show that it remains stationary at all times, even when interacting with human subjects. When viewed by a sentient observer, 305 appears to be a mobile, inanimate humanoid of indeterminate sex. The manifestation is formed of cracked rock, similar to 305's physical form. And while it is faceless, subjects report that cracks all over 305's surface begin to resemble human lips and ears as it moves. Human subjects who make visual contact with this manifestation hear whispering voices. Although, recording equipment in the area picks up nothing, and the phenomena is observed even in subjects who are deaf from birth. 305 will initially get in the subject's head by whispering compliments. During this phase, the subject experiences feelings of friendliness and trust towards 305. The subject begins to hear many voices emanating from 305. At this point, the whispers become critical, attempting to insult the subject or undermining the subject's self-esteem, especially by playing on the subject's guilty conscience. These insults make little sense when recounted, but have a profound psychological effect. The subject will hallucinate that these insults are emanating from mouth-like cracks that appear to form on the ground, walls, and ceiling. The voices from 305 will abruptly stop 2 to 10 hours from the beginning of hallucinations. 305's humanoid manifestation will appear and kill the subject. 305 is presently immobile. A large steel cage has been constructed around its present location. The location will remain undisclosed. It is staffed by at least 7 personnel who have prior experience with 305 and provided resistance to its effects. SCP-428, also known as the Crowd. Object Class: Euclid. SCP-428 is, in appearance, a crowd of huddled human beings. While huddled in a circle, 428 is to be considered in a dormant state. In this state, the crowd moves with a gentle sway and can be heard audibly mumbling. Upon further inspection, the biological internals have been removed from each individual and replaced with an unidentified material that attaches to a central amorphous mass in the middle of the crowd via lengths of flesh similar to umbilical cords. The crowd will not move away from the mass unless a person comes within 2 meters of the central mass. At this point, the crowd will move into its hostile state. The people of 428 closest to the person will attempt to grab and pull them into the middle of the crowd. After contact is made for more than 10 seconds, the person will become a new member of 428. Their internal structure will be removed and replaced with the same material as the other members. Should the potential victim escape, 428 will actively seek them, or another potential victim out. It will attempt to absorb any and all human life within its immediate vicinity. When all human life has been absorbed and they have become members of the crowd, it will return to its dormant state. 428 is to be contained in a 50 meter by 50 meter by 50 meter cell. The containment walls are to be electrified with 30,000 volts. SCP-457, also known as the Burning Man, Object Class Euclid. SCP-457 appears to be a sentient being composed of flame. 457's actual composition is unknown, and it has proven to be invisible and undetectable by any known means, but is shaped out of the flames it produces, often assuming a human-like form is given sufficient fuel to assume that size. As 457 grows larger, it is able to assume more complex shapes, and its intelligence grows with the size and fuel sources. 457's method of intelligence is unknown, but upon reaching an approximate human size, 457 almost always assumes a human-like form, surrounded by and composed of flames. 457 has been observed to communicate through writing letters out of its own flames, charring them onto the wall or other surfaces, and more rarely through speech, created via high pressure, superheated air, and the crackling and pops of flames. Once 457 reaches an unknown threshold of size and fuel source, 457 splits into two beings, and so on and so forth. However, multiple beings of 457 are aggressive towards each other, and they will attempt to consume or extinguish their doubles, especially if there's only a limited amount of fuel on hand. 457's behavior is largely predictable, as its goals are simply to acquire larger sources of fuel to spread. The danger of 457 comes from its ability to increase intelligence with size, and apparently ability to learn and mimic behaviors. This has led to it purposely damaging and sabotaging sprinkler systems and, in rare occasions, set up relatively complex traps. It has also attempted to trick or reason with personnel to be released or have access to more fuel. 457 is to be kept in a 5 meter by 5 meter chamber, with fireproofing via various materials upon all surfaces, and a blast-proof observation window with emergency blast shielding installed. SCP-510, also known as Soft Death, Object Class Keter. SCP-510 has thus far proven difficult to fully identify. It is possibly a form of microorganism, or a form of nanite. The particulars of 510 appear to be surrounded by a field that is causing a blurring effect, even at high magnification. 510 infests soft surfaces such as fabric, feathers, hair, or foam, with the ability to remain dormant in such substances for years. 510 encounters delta waves, typically emitted by humans entering sleep. 510 will activate and begin to infest any nearby organic life. Infestation follows a set of progression, most often ending with the death of infested subjects after 4 to 6 days. Containment unit for 510 must be airtight sealed on any and all possible access points. Staff access is to be provided by a dual airlock, with chemical showers at each stage. SCP-538, also known as Shadow Spiders, Object Class Euclid. SCP-538 appears to be an inanimate shadow of an unknown species of spiders. 538 appears to feed off the shadows of other living objects, and will move to the nearest shadow cast by a living organism. To feed, 538 does no more than to attach itself to the shadow of its host in such a manner that its own shadow is not obscured. Through this manner, a single specimen of 538 can grow up to approximately 15 square centimeters in size. 538 can and will attack its host if frightened. Frightening 538 generally involves a rapid movement by its host, at which it will bite the organism's shadow before attempting to flee. Upon being bitten, an individual will go through 5 different stages within the space of an hour. 10 to 15 minutes after being bitten, subjects will begin perspiring heavily 25 to 30 minutes after being bitten, subjects will become violent and aggressive. 40 to 45 minutes after being bitten, subject's skin will turn pale and paste-colored. 55 to 60 minutes after being bitten, subject will melt and the resulting fluid will be completely translucent and harmless. The subject's shadow will have at this point completely disintegrated into smaller specimens of 538, and for the lack of better term should be considered its offspring. SCP-638, also known as the Roaring One, Object Class Keter. SCP-638 appears to be a male human of slim build, hairless, and extensively scarred. 638 is covered almost completely in burn scars. While 638 has shown to heal at an abnormal rate, directional proportional to 638's consumption of raw flesh and wine, the scar tissue and remains of the hair has not regrown. 638 seems to understand English and is responsive to commands, but is either unable or unwilling to reply. 638 has issued demands, but these come in the form of one or two words, shouts in the Botine subdialect of Ancient Greece. To date, 638 has demanded wine, ivy, olive trees, grass for the floor, freedom, women, live animals, a drum, a flute, and a view of the sky. Initially, 638 became violent upon not being appeased, demonstrating great strength and speed in short bursts. 638 is responsible for the death of several security personnel and staff members. 638 is to remain in lockdown at Site-33 at all times.